Welcome to Heidi Relationships. Today, we'll read some more stories from Reddit. But before we start, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. That would help the channel a lot. Thank you very much in advance.
The first one is titled, Cheat on Me with My Student, Steal from Me and Then Slander My Reputation? Get ready to lose your job, future and face jail time. So, I was madly in love with my ex-GF, together for 4 years. She is quite attractive, and very affectionate. She thrived on attention, to which I catered to the best of my abilities. I fondly called her Winter, and she had a cheesy name for me as well, which I choose not to divulge. Overall, I was happy. I earned significantly more than her, apart from the fact that my grandparents left me a hefty amount of money. Although she lived in her own apartment, we live in a very conservative country. Live-in relationships are a big taboo. Most of the stuff in it was mine. She drove my car, used my laptop, and so on. I have a crappy 32 inches LCD TV, while she bought a 60 inches Bravia and defaulted on payments, after which I had to pay for it. This was not an isolated incident either, because she had a lot of things I was paying for. I admit that I was a doormat, in blissful ignorance of all the red flags. So, one day I was at her place, and I used her laptop to check my email. I couldn't remember her Wi-Fi password. Her Gmail account opened up, and as I went to sign out, a Hangouts notification popped up which said, "God knows I love your body. 7, same park. Night at my place. Wear the dress my name bought for you so I can tear it apart." There were no other texts on that chat head. She probably deleted it. It was my student, my, barely, 18-year-old, first-year student whom we'll call Wuss. I can't describe how I felt at the moment. It was a wild cocktail of emotions. I slammed her laptop and stormed out of her place. But I was foolish enough to not take any evidence, but they were supposed to meet up the next day and I could catch them red-handed. Next day, I go to the place where they were supposed to meet and catch them making out in my car. I knock on the window, ask for my keys and tell her to never talk to me again. She was sobbing, apologizing and so on. I asked Wuss to drop her home, and he just bolted like his tail was on fire. I can never forget the look on their faces, that sudden paleness and shocked expressions. Wuss also forgot his phone in my car. Meanwhile, I'm being bombarded with texts of her apologizing. I then block her. I left this detail out of the post I made on our relationships, but I spent the next 2 days drinking myself to oblivion, and hungover me left a lot of fuzzy details in the post. I tried calling my best friend, but he was away for a business trip, so I didn't disturb him. All I did for 2 whole days was drink, puke, sleep, eat and repeat. 2 days later, when I came to my senses, I went through my bank statements and then cancelled our joint account. Well, she withdrew almost all of the money in it, out of which 3/4 was mine. I was still being bombarded with texts and calls, but sometime during my drunken furor I cracked my phone's screen, thus rendering it useless. So, I got my backup phone and see a barrage of notifications. As it turns out, she posted on Facebook that I had been cheating on her, that I was an emotionally manipulative, two-faced douchebag who sleeps with his students. We had a lot of mutual friends, most of who blocked me. Someone even created a WhatsApp group and they abused me and said horrible things. She even turned my sister against me. Our father left our mother for a woman half his age. Our mother got depressed and died after a few years, thus she was overly sensitive about infidelity. But X was also horribly manipulative, and she pushed all the right buttons to make my sister hate me. X was hitting all the past wounds she knew about our father. She said things like, "Chip off the old block," and, "He's just like your father," and many more horrible, made-up things. She got very depressed because of this, and also several of her friends were on my ex's side. This has probably put a permanent strain on our relationship. Word about X's Facebook post spread like wildfire in the college. They pinned a shy, socially awkward girl as being my mistress and shamed that poor girl. To be honest, I have never even noticed her. The revenge. Finally, the part everyone was waiting for. She effectively ruined my reputation and goodwill I had created in my community and among my peers. Put my job in jeopardy. She turned my only family, my sister, against me. I later show her the apology texts my ex sent me, and then she apologized to me because clearly I was the victim, not her. Several kind Redditors suggested I contact a lawyer, which I did. So, the next day when I went for work to take a few days off, I see Wuss and his father for me. Somehow I resisted the urge to punch him. He apologized and told me that he'd do anything so as to not get him out of college. I asked him if he'd testify in my favor, and he obliged. I did tell him that I won't be able to save him, because that was out of my powers. He told me he would still testify in my favor, and he sent me several screenshots of his chats with ex, thus confirming that she was cheating on me, and not the other way round. I pressed charges under IPC, Indian Penal Code, Section 499, defamation, 500 and 504, intentional insult with intent to provoke breach of the peace. The day of the hearing was frankly the best day of my life since the breakup. She said a lot of malignant things about me, was yelling a lot to the point that the judge had to scold her. Her lawyer did ask for an out-of-court settlement, but I politely declined because it is not only my life she has inevitably screwed over. It would have been a lot cheaper, and I'd have gotten some dough, but duck her. This was quite a scandal, but since I have a tenure of 5 years, they can't fire me. I was transferred to another college instead. Same pay, same incentives, but I'll have to travel a bit more than I prefer. As for her, she is in knee-deep crap. She was a librarian, she's a library science major, in the institution I worked for, and was fired as soon as I notified the authorities. The reason being, philandering with a student. This has also screwed up her chances at procuring a job in the future. She also faces jail time, as mentioned under Section 500 and 504, which can extend up to imprisonment for over 2 years, a fine or both, and Indian jails, sheesh. She can post for bail, however. Wuss has been expelled. The money she stole, that would be going to her lawyer. My best friend went to her apartment, got my stuff back for me, which included a futon, a refrigerator, an air conditioner, a laptop, and several expensive electronics and some jewelry. She would keep the TV though because it is in her name. She'd probably have to sell it, because lawyers ain't cheap. And she has no job, and no savings. This is in India, and as you might have guessed, people are very, very conservative here. At some point, she will have to reach out to her parents, who still think she is a virgin. The next one is titled, Birthday Present to Ex-Wife. Was told you guys would get a kick out of this. I had originally posted it to another topic, but it was suggested I'd share it with you. So here it is. Gather round, boy and girls, because it's time for the story of my cheating ex-wife and how I ducked her. Now bear with me as this is a bit of a long one, but duck it. So, I had a feeling she was cheating as she set off a lot of red flags. Constantly laughing and smiling when texting, saying it was just her mother when I asked. Needing to stay late every night after work. When I'd call in, her coworkers said she left hours ago. When I asked her what was going on, she'd laugh it off and say it was just something they did to each other at the office all the time. The last straw to where I knew something was definitely up when she went out to get milk at 11:30 at night and didn't come back till 2 in the morning. Now, if there are any words of wisdom I can pass on to others in all my years of experience, it's if you think your significant other is cheating, hire a ducking private investigator. They're goddamn good at what they do, and they will get some evidence that really helps in the later divorce. Fast track to her birthday, several months down the road. Now I know what you're thinking. Why the hell did I wait months before I confronted her, and did it really need to be on her birthday? The answer to the first question is I wanted as much evidence as possible to hand off to my lawyer, as well as make arrangements to find a new place to live, etc. Answer to your second question is, of course it had to be on her birthday. You see, after asking her what she wanted to do on her birthday this year, she was rather insisted on me going out of town with my friends, as she just had to work anyways and didn't want to be reminded she was aging. So, I know something is up, and after finding a bottle of champagne and 2 glasses hidden in my closest something in my snaps. So, I do what any sensible man would have done. I leave and go to my friend's house pretending like I am going out of town. While there I call up her mother, father, sister and several of her friends. I tell them how I want to give her a big surprise by sneaking into her room with party streamers, kazoos and a big cake with candles. Sounds fun, right? Well boy was it. It's 8:30 in the morning and I have everyone met just outside our apartment. We all pile in the elevator, about 8 of us in total, her mother holding the cake and me reminding everyone to be as quiet as they can be. I put my key in and unlock the door. We all sneak in and make our way down the hall towards the bedroom. Each hold a kazoo and mom holding the cake grinning from ear to ear. Well, as I throw open the door and we all yell surprise. But the surprise was on us, and there was my wife, bent over in doggy-style position with her lover staring at us wide-eyed mid-thrust. Mom drops the cake, sister screams, father begins to shout. I pretend like I'm horrified, to which her friends try to push everyone out while yelling at her. Wife, excuse me. Ex-wife is sobbing and screaming how could I, while the lover is desperately trying to put his pants on while running out of the place. Needless to say, it was one of the best birthday presents I have ever given. The next one is titled, I Ada for not letting my in-laws near my children? Okay, so let's dive right in. My husband, 30 meters, and I, 32F, have 3 wonderful children, 8 meters, 5 meters, and 1, 5F. Also, I'm currently pregnant with our 4th kiddo due in September. I've always had a sort of tense relationship with my in-laws. They showed me in our early stages of dating that they didn't really care about me as a person, and even now I feel like all they're looking for when talking to me is gossip for their friends. I try getting along with them as good as possible, especially since I want my kids to have a good relationship with them. Last weekend, my kids spent a couple of hours at my in-laws' house while my husband and I went baby shopping. On our way back, we called to let them know we'd be there in about 20 minutes. They told us they went to the mall because the boys wanted to go look at toys and they'd leave now. I heard my daughter crying in the background, which I didn't think much of since she's only 17 months old. I still asked and my Mill said she wanted ice cream, but they said no. Alright, fair enough. Now when we got to their house we just waited a little bit since they were on their way. A couple of minutes pass and they arrive, happy to see us, the kids lol. Our daughter's eyes are still red from crying, so I pick her up for snuggles and ask what's wrong. Then I see it. My in-laws got her ears pierced. They knew we didn't want it to be done yet since they told us multiple times to take the chance while she's young and won't remember the pain, and every single time we said, no, we want it to be her choice once she's old enough. I got really mad and yelled at my in-laws. They didn't apologize or anything like that. My husband tried to defuse the situation and eventually he convinced me it's better to drive home and cool off. So, the day after that I called and said I was sorry about yelling at them, but what they did was unacceptable. They still didn't see anything wrong with it and called me hormonal and irrational. That took the cake for me. I was furious and told them I didn't want them near my children again if neither my husband nor I am present. Then I hung up. Obviously, they think they're in the right and I'm overreacting, and that once baby number 4 is here, I'll come to my senses. My husband thinks my reaction was a little harsh, but agrees it was unacceptable. I get that he wants our children to have a normal relationship with his parents, but I feel like I lost all trust in them that I had. My best friend says I shouldn't have made such a decision in the heat of the moment and that I should apologize and try to find a compromise. Another friend understands me and says he would have done the same. I feel like everybody has a different opinion on how I should have handled the situation. So, Reddit, Ada? Edit. Since so many people are asking, we took the piercings out as soon as we got home. Edit 2. Wow, I put my phone away for a couple of hours to come back to this. I did not expect that many comments and I sure feel reassured in my decision. It's pretty late now and honestly, I'm too sleepy to respond to all the messages and comments. I will read all of them though. I still wanted to give a teeny update since way more has happened since I posted than I had expected. When my husband came home, I told him that I wanted to talk about the issue again, and he actually said he wanted to too, and that he thought about it a lot in the past few days. He said he was sorry about his underreaction and that he feels terrible. I actually even showed him this thread. That's when I got overwhelmed with your guys' reaction. And he read through some of the comments. I'm probably still gonna make that foo binder someone suggested. I don't think I will be pressing charges, though. My husband's company actually has a couple of branches in other states, so he even came up with the idea to move out of state so that his parents don't even have the chance to guilt trip either one of us into seeing our children when we don't want to. He even showed me 2 or 3 houses near his preferred location that he liked, which I thought was really cute. Nonetheless, I don't know how I feel about the moving idea yet. On the one hand, I like the idea of being far away from my in-laws. On the other hand, it feels like flight instead of really establishing our boundaries, even if I won't let them near my children either way. Also, I don't think moving while very pregnant or with a newborn, depending on when that'd happen, isn't easy, although I know a couple of people who have done that. But then again, this is just a budding idea forming in my husband's head today, so we'll see. Neither I nor my husband have talked to his parents since I banned them from unsupervised visits. So, all in all, there's a lot we talked about and a lot to think about in the next couple of weeks, so we'll see where the road takes us. I'm obviously still furious with my in-laws, but other than that, I feel good about how this is going. The talk made me feel much better. About our daughter's ears. They look fine to me, but I'm not an expert, so I'm glad my pediatrician will see her on Friday. A user in the comments said, "Phew, that was a bit to unpack." Firstly, NTA, what they did showed a complete disregard to you and the parenting style you and your partner have set. This break of trust is something that is going to need to be earned back, so I completely understand not letting them see your kids without you or your partner present. In saying that, it obviously seems like they have no respect for you and will continue to do what they want. Stick to your guns up, sit down with your husband and make sure he has your back on it. Until you feel comfortable with letting them see your kids unsupervised, they don't. Another user said, NTA. They didn't just cross a line, they ran over it and didn't look back. You never do anything like that to a minor without the parents' permission. The fact not only that they didn't apologize nor that they didn't feel that they did anything wrong pretty much guarantees that something similar will happen again in the future. Even if you allow them to see the kids again, you should absolutely never leave them with your in-laws unsupervised again. And by supervision, I mean you. Your husband's reaction was underwhelming and I'd trust him not to knuckle under to pressure from them. The fact of them calling you hormonal shows that they have zero respect for you or your feeling. I'd bet, if you weren't pregnant, they would have found another reason to brush off your feeling and try to make you irrelevant. Another user in the comments said, NTA. They are in the wrong. They had no right at all to do that to your daughter. They are the Oz. Your husband is co-op for saying your reaction was a little harsh. Your children will not have a normal relationship with them because they are causing friction by not respecting your wishes regarding your children. Your best friend is an enabler. Apologize? For what? You did nothing wrong. They did. There is no compromise because they already went against your wishes. There is nothing to be done. You can take the stubs out and allow her ears to heal, but they already did the damage. I wouldn't be surprised if your daughter is now afraid of them. They broke your trust, and I would feel the same. I wouldn't want my kids alone with them. This is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the relationship stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video and write a comment. I really appreciate your support and it helps my channel so much. Thank you.